Hey everybody, welcome to episode 10. That is our first double-digit number of A Hill to Die On. Remember, there are timestamps in the description below, so please feel free to skip ahead to whatever part of the podcast you want to listen to. Don't worry, I'll only be slightly offended if you don't listen to the full episode. In the event that you haven't listened to episode 9 or you haven't heard the news, A Hill to Die On is on all podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts or music, we are there. So please go leave us a nice review, 5 stars, thumbs up, follow us, subscribe, whatever it is, please support A Hill to Die On. And if we're not on a podcasting platform that you use, let us know, and we'll get the podcast up there. All right, some quick notes about today's episode. During most of the editing process in this episode, I absolutely hated the sound of my voice. I don't know what it was, but I think it was just stuttering and slurring my words that I really hated. And, I just wasn't on my A game 100% of the time in this episode. So I apologize for that. We had a couple of sidetrack convos, but I think it was interesting. I don't think it detracted from the podcast. But there were a few jump cuts that I had to make because of that. So just be aware of that. And that's really all I have in terms of editor's notes. This was a great episode with Jasmyne. It was really fun having her on, despite what I just mentioned. It was an absolute blast. It was nice to finally get her in front of the mic. So remember, please follow us at The Hill to Die on social media, and that is all lowercase. New episodes should be dropping soon. And with that all being said, enjoy the show.
Talking on the podcast, I'm like take a sip and just be like. Ugh.
It's all right. If it's that annoying, I'll cut it out.
Okay.
Just but you know what we are going to think about?
What?
A Hill to Die On podcast. Welcome everybody to episode 10. Wow. I'm your host, Jasmyne. You gotta wait until I bring you in.
Okay.
Right. Welcome to episode 10 of A Hill to Die On podcast. I am your host, Matthew Rios, and I am here with the suburban artist, Jasmyne Tyler, the graphic designer, the artiste behind A Hill to Die On. Welcome her, everybody.
Wow. Yes, I have a degree. Just want to throw that out there. I have a degree.
That's what they tell you.
Yeah, as of like 5-6 days ago, I only allegedly have a degree, but it turned up in the mail. So now I actually have a degree.
And you know what? Congratulations, Jasmyne.
Thanks.
You worked hard for that degree. I can vouch for that. Yes. You are very deserving. And we today are sponsored by Harpo's Bar and Grill. Not actually though, but like they are across the street and they're always loud and always getting COVID. So
They heard about the podcast and they all flocked out of the bar, motorcycles, car engines, and all, to be a part of the live studio audience.
Yes. So, just to quickly address some things, depending, I don't know how this is exactly going to work. My plan is, I know you disagreed with this, Jasmyne, but my plan is to drop a bunch of episodes at once. It's going to be this one that I recorded back in July, another one with Alex, and maybe a fourth one. I don't know, that might be a bridge too far. But that is the current plan, and they're all going to release at once. So depending on how you're listening to these episodes, this might be the first one you're listening to since our last one back in March, I believe. So real quick, I'll just say, A Hill to Die On is on all podcast services. Yes.
Woohoo!
You heard that right. We are just about everywhere.
Wow.
So you can listen to us on Spotify. You can listen to us on iTunes or Apple Podcast Music, whatever it's called. So we are everywhere. You normally would have heard that last episode, but I'm a bum when it comes to the podcast, and I haven't released the previous episode, so I'm assuming that you didn't hear it. So that's the information I got to drop. You might also be noticing that we had some new artwork. Again, thanks to the Hill to Die On artist in residence, Jasmyne Tyler.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah,
I think it's about it. I think we can get the show on the road. Jasmine, as you probably know, whenever I bring... Oh, wait, one last thing. Alex couldn't be here today because me and Alex are still in school. So he's very busy on Mondays and Tuesdays, so he couldn't make it, which is totally okay. I am more than willing to step up to the plate.
No, he heard I was going to be here, and he was like, you know what, Jasmine? You take the floor, girl. And I was like, Alex, respect.
Sure. That's
That's not true at all.
sure, that's what happened. When I bring a new guest on, and they're very close to me, I like to talk about how we met, our first meetings and interactions with the friend group. So, Jasmine, would you like to go? Would you like me to say?
Oh, okay. You have a better memory than I do, so I'll say it, and then you can inject the correct events as they transpired.
Okay.
I moved into Mizzou before Matthew and all of the friends, actually. I was the first non-resident advisor to move into McDavid. Fun fact. And that was only because I was in March in Mizzou. And this is where the memory gets a bit hazy, but like all the people on third floor, we all just kind of hung out in like the lounge and would talk to each other. And we had like a little like McDavid group chat for all of us freshmen because we were nerds. And so I believe one night you guys went to the movies. I don't know how you got into the friend group because I met everybody else and I met you separately, but I think it was some night during welcome week or something like that we were all like, hey, let's play Mafia in the lobby, and somehow you were there, ? Maybe.
I was already established when this happened.
Well, see, I didn't know that because I wasn't there. I didn't meet you when you met them. I met them first, and then a couple days later, probably because I was doing band things, I met you.
Actually, fun fact, I don't know if I mentioned this when I talked about when to spoil it, well, not to spoil it, rather, the night I met Jasmine is also the night I met Alex, and I believe
that
our
is
friend
right,
Kayla.
because the same game of Mafia, ladies and gentlemen, ooh, the lore is deep. That same game of Mafia, we were like 2 hours in, did a little short California boy waltz in with one suitcase, mind you. I will never forget this. One suitcase talking about, how do I check in? Where do I go? And we were all like,
You missed it, bud.
we were like, but thankfully, because all the McDavid people knew each other, we knew this one guy who was like, yeah, my roommate hasn't moved in yet. I don't know. His name's Alessandro. So when this little California boy waltzed in, we were like, oh, you're the guy. And we somehow got him into his room. I don't remember the rest of that, but yeah.
No, yeah, you're pretty spot on. I may have already told the story, but real quick, I introduced myself into the friend group by, there was a day on the quad kind of thing, or not the quad. I don't remember. There's this grassy area outside of the residence hall.
The Fark Park.
Yes. Fark in the Park. Yes.
Boom.
Not to be mistaken with the Colombian Rebels.
Formerly known as Loeb Lawn.
Yes. We went out there. We painted some stuff. There was some snacks, I think. There was some water guns. Anyway, I realized that to survive, well, I could survive without friends, but to be sane and survive, I was like, I need to make friends at Mizzou. So I did something I would never do, and I just started talking to people, and I started hanging out with people in that hour, and then they said they started talking about, oh, we're gonna go see a movie, and I was like, again, doing something I would never do. I was like, I'm gonna invite myself to this movie. I'm just gonna tag along. And if they kick me out, they kick me out. If not, I'm just going to be accepted. And thankfully, they accepted me. And now, for the most part, my current friends, thanks to that movie. So
Yeah, I missed the movie because I was there for the first part of Fark in the Park because I painted something on that board that they had. I don't remember you being there, which is why I probably left before you were like, time to make friends, let's go. Because I had March and Mizzou stuff to go to. But I came back, and that's when we were like, we're going to play Mafia.
I wasn't there at the very, very beginning.
Oh, okay.
So, if you only stayed for, a minute, you probably missed me.
Yeah, I had to do, a hit and run because band nerd. But it worked out in the end.
So, yes, I did meet Jasmine at this at this Mafia game, and my only real conversation that night was when we were leaving to...
Sorry, brief message from our sponsors.
I love the power of editing.
Back like we never left.
Anyway, like I was saying, the only real conversation I had with you, Jasmine, that night was after the game. I knew I had totally, because I was trying to be funny that night, which I am all the time. But Jasmine, how dare you?
No, go on.
Anyway, I was trying to be funny, so like I exaggerated and like did some stuff with like how I was talking about the Mafia game, and I totally messed up Jasmine's like move in Mafia, the card game.
Oh, can I elaborate on this?
Sure.
So I was the doctor, which if you've ever played Mafia, the doctor is if you have a queen card, you basically just open your eyes and pick a random person to save. And I can't remember if maybe you were the murderer or either you were an innocent person, and I, as the doctor, tried to save you.
I was the narrator.
Oh, then I'm not thinking of the same thing. I remember some point in that game, you were either an innocent or the Mafia member, and I tried to save you. Like, I voted to save you, and I think you must have been the Mafia member because you killed me. And I remember after the game, I was like, what the heck? I was trying to help you. You, like, knifed me.
That sounds vaguely familiar because I believe that sounds familiar. I was a Mafia member at some point, but yeah. So the only conversation I had that night with like to you, in actuality, was asking as we were going to bed. I was like, "Oh, did I mess up your thing or whatever? I'm pretty sure like I got it wrong," and you were like, "Yeah, you did, but it's okay." And then you scurried off, and I was like.
Wait, I remember telling you during the game, I remember being like, you have a nice voice. And you did your typical, well, thank you.
Everybody tells me I have a nice voice.
Oh, well.
I'm not even like saying that to be like.
All right, Mr. Nice Voice Actor over here.
I'm not even saying that to like stroke my ego or anything like that. I legitimately, like, people tell me all the time, like, oh, Matthew, you have a nice voice.
You should start a podcast.
Roll credits. Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe.
Was that the same night that we also stayed up till like 5 a.m. doing absolutely nothing?
No.
Was that a different night?
No, because I don't even know what you're talking about, but I know we went to bed at like 2, 3 in the morning.
There was one night, because that's when we were like, oh, we ship Emmy and Alex. You know when we were doing that? And then we we played Mafia.
Well, there's no way that happened because that was when Alex first got there.
You're right.
Yeah.
No, well, there was one night that we literally stayed up to 5 a.m. because we played Mafia. Then we went to the columns, and then it was like 2 a.m. We had nothing to do, and we were like, let's go get malts. And then we went and got malts, and that's when I was like, are we friends? And you were like, no. I was like, okay.
LOL. Jasmine, for the record, I was messing with her, and she knew that.
No.
I just want to put that out there.
No. But, he meant it.
Anyway.
He said it with his whole chest.
But that is how me and Jasmine met.
Wow.
And it's been a wild ride ever since.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now Jasmine has a job. She's making that money.
Okay, you ain't got to put my business on blast. People are going to come for me.
If
Don't come for me. I got hitters up in the shy. That's not true.
No, you don't.
I have my dad. Dad.
No, if anything, you want me to blast you to my 12 subscribers. Listen, everybody. Jasmine's for hire. She's a freelance graphic designer, and although she works her butt off, she's always taking on new clients.
I love making the world artsy.
So if you're willing to spend that cash, you won't be disappointed.
That's true. I
Check
am not
out
cheap.
Jasmine at...
Oh, I thought you were going to say it. I was going to be like, you don't know my website? JasmyneTyler.com. JasMyne Tyler.com. Wow.
There you go. She paid me...
$5.
I haven't received the $5, so...
Okay, but in my defense, I've also bought you a decent amount of food in our history together, so we've evened out.
All right, we'll talk after.
My people call your people.
So, Jasmine, or as I like to call you, Jazzy T.
That's
Jazzy
me.
T. This is this part of the show where we talk about what's going on in our life. So, Jasmine, what you got going on? What you been up to?
Man, I am tiptoeing across the wild river that separates young adulthood from almost adulthood. Or I guess kind of adulthood. And that river, this wide river, is kind of like the in-between, separates the boys from the men.
That's what they say.
Yes, and it has some strong currents because sometimes I'd be making my way and there's like a gust and then I just be falling and end up downstream and I gotta pack my stuff back up and keep trotting along. It's been wild.
Jasmine, I mean, you're pretty adult already.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that way until you pay your first bill.
Have you done your first car payment yet?
I have. It was wild. I actually, funny story, my parents went on a illegal quarantine staycation and they went to Florida, which, little side story that adds to the river of adulthood. You know how I mentioned like sometimes a big gust just knocks you and takes you downstream? My parents were getting ready to go on this vacation. They were going to leave, it was like a Saturday. They were going to leave early Sunday morning. And I'm sitting probably doing freelance work. Hashtag hire me. My dad shows up with this stack of papers and he's like, hey, this is our life insurance policy, okay? If anything happens to us, sell the house. Don't keep it. Get a townhouse for you and your brother, don't look back. And I was like...
Preparing you for the worst.
I was like, what the heck is this? Why would you tell me this before you went on a trip? So, literally that whole night and the morning after, because obviously they were on a plane, so they couldn't, message everything. They're just kind of we're taking off, peace. And I was like, all right, great. The whole 3 hours of their flight, I was like, this could be the end. What am I going to do without my parents? Am I prepared? I don't know how to file taxes. What am I going to do? And in light of that, my first car payment was actually scheduled that day. And I was like, okay, car payment, here we go. I have it set up with my bank where it's automatic and I wouldn't have to think about it. So I was like, sweet. I got up, I checked my bank. The payment was not deposited. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just ask my parents. And I was like, wait a minute. My parents could have possibly died in a plane crash.
Might be dead.
Yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I was like, holy cow. My parents could be dead. I don't have to pay my car payment. The IRS is going to come take me away. I'm going to go to jail. My brother's going to be an orphan. It was a lot. Turns out, okay, the bank, and I'm talking to you, bank. I'm not going to name you.
Talking to you, bank.
I don't want you coming for me. I ain't got bill, lawyer kind of money.
Yeah.
But turns out because it was a Sunday, the bank was closed, online transaction didn't work.
Right.
Even though they scheduled it to be automatically deposited on a Sunday. So it didn't deposit until the following Monday. But that whole day, I was like, are they going to charge me a late fee? This is what you did. See what I'm talking about? This is so boring. But adulthood, the river of adulthood, it's boring at times.
Boring, but
and then
fast.
You find out your parents could have died in a plane crash and you just have to pick your stuff up and keep
navigate
crossing.
Life insurance,
It's wild, man.
townhomes, selling your home.
Yeah, really.
You would have to call up the girls at Selling Sunset to sell your house.
Oh my gosh, my house is not worth that much money.
Also,
Yeah.
don't watch that show if you want to keep all your brain cells.
It's great. I hope Christine would sell my house.
I would let Christine sell my house.
She would probably be like, "Oh my gosh, you want to buy a house? Let's go get shots." And I'd be like, "No." My
If
parents
she's
just
buying, why not?
Because Matthew, in this theoretical universe, my parents have just died in a plane crash. Okay, I'm not trying to take some shots.
I mean, fair enough, but also free 99. Right? Anyway. For clarification, Selling Sunset, Jasmine, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a reality TV show about this expensive realtor company in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Brokerage, and they sell homes and stuff, and it follows really expensive homes, and it just follows their drama.
Yeah, I like to think of it as Housewives meets what's another good show? I don't know. It's just housewife reality TV silliness.
So none of them. None of them are good.
No, they are good. I mean, I like it because I said Housewives meets Love Island because they focus a lot on these people's love lives, which is terrible because their love lives are the worst part about the show. And the drama is so dumb, but it's easy to follow because they're dumb and they're also really attractive. So you're like, wow, that was such a petty argument. But that bathing suit is so... Are those red bottoms, girl?
They are incredibly attractive, yes.
Yeah, the weirdest part of the show is probably the owners of the brokerage because they're just these two twin, bald, short brothers and they have an office full of
They look
hot
like
women.
the villains in a Bond movie, honestly.
They do, and they just have a brokerage of really hot blonde women. And it's what are these dynamics? It's weird.
It is. But Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked off of that. So is there anything else, Jasmine, you got going on in your life? Is there anything that you want to share with the people?
Not too much. Besides, because I am crossing that river of adulthood, there's not much I have going on. And like in college, it's easy to stay like slim and trim because you can like walk everywhere and like you have a rec membership and all that good stuff. And like my biggest fear is like people graduate and they like, I don't want to say get fat, but like, you know, their young slim days are over. But I'm scared of that. Like I want to be lovely and thin. Not to say that big people are not lovely. So sorry that.
But you personally want to be healthy. Me personally,
me and mine like to, you know, keep it tight. That's just my personal preference. And so I've been trying to go walking with my mom, but I take rec classes like at the park district that's across the street from my house. And one of the ones I accidentally signed up for is literally like yoga with old people. And it gives me so much life to just be stretching with these nice old ladies. They're so lovely. Ladies. Yes, it's so fun. Like I told them about my degree. They like clapped for me. I was like, wow. That's like the nice part of the river of adulthood, you know, the nice gentle tide where there's old people on the other side.
That's kind of like a moment in like, I don't know, like a rom-com or something, or like a Hallmark drama where the young lady learns from the older folk. And
where they're sitting on the porch and they're like, follow your heart, and then they're like, oh my god,
while they're wiping a tear, I think I will.
Oh.
Thank you, Janet.
My mom watches so many Hallmark movies. I can probably tell you the plot of all of them.
Your mother, very nice lady.
Thank you. She is lovely. Shout out to you, Mom. She will never watch this podcast. But shout out to you anyway.
Nor should she. I think it would alter her opinion on me if she ever listened to an episode of this.
Yeah, that's probably... We'll wait on that one.
Yikes. Well, Jasmine, if you'll allow me, if you're done...
Yeah.
What's going on in my life? Nothing.
I wasn't going to say it, but...
I mean, nothing really important. I'm in a new apartment, so if the sound sounds different, we're experimenting right now. This is my first recorded podcast in this apartment. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how the sound is. I don't know if the sound is terrible. I mean, we'll find out when I listen back to it and edit it.
It is quite the upgrade, may I just say so. It is a very nice apartment.
Compared to my old place, yeah, most of the other stuff is pretty good. But...
You pay for it in the Harpo's traffic.
Yeah, and you know, and the noise, and the goddamn noise, and the homeless people of Colombia. But we're not going to get into that. We're trying to be happy. So, speaking of happy, I'm also taking some classes. The end of the tunnel of graduation is right around the corner.
Wow.
I'm trying to pass my magazine editing class, and editing and grammar has always been one of the worst aspects of my journalistic career. So it's a bit of a struggle, but we're trying to get through it. Shout out to Professor Rowe, Jennifer Rowe. She's a real one.
Oh my gosh. Matthew just pointed to heaven like she died.
Yeah, no, she's very much alive. But
she too hath crossed the river.
But no, she's great. Honestly, she's great. Even though I don't like her class, I really like her, and that kind of like helps me get through it because she's super nice. You know, I don't want to go as far as to say that maybe we have a connection, but like she's like, okay, not like that. But I mean, like she's married, but she's very nice, and we kind of like click when we're talking in office hours or whatever, like in that kind of like she's like a good mentor kind of thing.
That's always a good feeling.
Yeah. Just trying to navigate, you know, life during Corona, trying to slip those Corona punches, you know,
and stay motivated even though you can go to class in your pajamas.
Well, for the most part, yeah. Not always, but for the most part, yeah. Jasmine, is there anything else you would like to tell the beautiful people? Would you like to tell them about your job at all, or?
No, I won't tell them about my job.
Yikes. Then I totally understand. We will edit it out.
Yeah.
So, the last thing we said was, the last thing that will be in the podcast I said was, do you want to talk about where you're working at right now?
Yeah, it's not that interesting, but
you can keep it vague, and you can just talk about your general like title if you want, because I think it's very interesting what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean that transition from like doing graphic design work in school to kind of doing real world graphic design work has been really, really weird. And I don't know if it's just because of how Mizzou's program is. It's like the more you go through the program, the more they like loosen the leash until eventually you're just running down the street to do whatever you want. And that's not how jobs work.
So can you tell the people, so maybe not exactly what you're doing right now, but could you tell the people what you're like trained in, like what your specialty is?
Yeah, I mean, I guess right now, my personal specialty, I would consider to be branding and packaging. So like, here's the concept for our company, brand, whatever the heck, and then turning that into more concrete. You know, like when you see Nike, you know it's Nike because of Futura, their typeface, like their colors, their very black and white hard line style. That kind of stuff is what I love. It's so fun. But right now I do a bit more practical, I guess if you would, more practical designing, where it's like just modern everyday businesses that pay my job to pay us to do like their branding and their ads and their radio scripts and their social media and emails and all that kind of good stuff, which is, I don't know, it's definitely different. It's different. You kind of just have like a box. I shouldn't say a box, but it's definitely a lot different than waking up every day and going to school and being like, what do I want to design? Yes. Juice box sounds cool.
Sorry, I have a serious brain freeze.
Rookie mistake. It's okay. I'll chat amongst myself while you recover.
No, but wait, no. But you know what's wild? This is Trops.
Sponsor us.
I never get brain freezes normally. Like normally I'm good to go, but wow, this one is rocking my world right now.
I do not think. Hooty hoo.
Are these people cawing right now?
Heck yeah. They're summoning the birds to come party with them.
What the hell?
I've done some bird calls when I was under the influence, I gotta say.
What did he say?
I have no idea. Since this might get cut, on the topic of bird noises, I just want to say shout out to Ionic Independent Winter Guard. If you know, you know.
I guess we can keep going. What were you even talking about?
You were talking about your brain freeze, and I was saying I don't think I've ever had a brain freeze before.
Fucking more. I've only had them like maybe when I was super young. I had them, and then after that, like, granted, I don't really eat ice cream like that or like cold desserts like that, so maybe that's why. But like whenever I do, I never really got brain freezes. This one. And the last one I had, the last 2 times I had Trops, the first time I've had brain freezes in like forever.
Oof.
It's incredible. I don't know. It's just like a temporary headache, I guess. Pain.
Yeah. But yeah, trained in marketing, communications, selling the people their things, and making the information look cool.
And
an
artist.
Wow. That's right. With a degree. It's like those packages that are like, new look, same great taste. The same artist now with a degree. Spicy. Yeah.
Hold on. Who in the goddamn is out here yelling on my street corner?
Please keep this in. The Matthew is now storming to the window. There's a glare at his eye. He's peeling back.
What is going on?
He's shouting at the glass. They cannot hear him.
Be gone, thoughts.
Get
out of here.
He is calling them thoughts.
It's one of the. It's the dude who likes to pickpocket and wears a wife beater.
He knows all the homeless people by name.
I do.
Well, not quite by name, but by their tendencies. Yes.
He's out here yelling at people, and now the dumb Harpo's people are leaving.
The Harpo's people are apparently fleeing, and Matthew has yelled.
It's just bothering me.
A disgruntled Matthew now returns to the chair. I hope that was accessible for all you people listening at home.
I'll probably leave this in.
Sponsored by Harpo's.
Because it's funny. Live studio audience. Bastards. Okay. You know, because we've been stopped, I think now is a perfect time to just take the natural break and use it to our advantage. Jasmine Tyler. Is it okay if I say your last name?
Sure. I mean, it's in my website.
That's true. We did mention your website. Okay. So, Jasmine, Tyler, I let the guests decide who goes first. We're on our part of the show where we talk about our topics and things we want to discuss on the show. So, Jasmine, as the guest, would you like to go first or would you like me to go first?
Sure. I mean, I'll take it away.
All right. Jasmine, what's your topic?
All right. Put your seatbelts on, kids. Sit back, okay? Close your eyes and envision this for me. Just picture yourself here, okay? You are a professional, trained artist of any medium: performance, painting, sculpture, photography, dance, rhythmic gymnastics. I don't know. And whatever it is your craft is has been hailed in its medium, critically acclaimed, respected in all forms, It could be a little abstract. It could be a little literal. Doesn't matter. This is your imagination, right? And it is chosen to be put in a museum. Very impressive work. People from all over the place come to admire it. But there is also a large portion of mainly young kids who see your art and think, oh my gosh, that's a great background, and then take posed pictures in front of it for like 30 minutes on end. They're just using your whatever it is you created as a backdrop for an Instagram post. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my topic, okay? Stop showing up to art museums. Sorry, I'm getting a little loud. I'm a little heated. Stop showing up to art museums and using the art as clout. It is so annoying, okay? Everyone does this. You'll open someone's Instagram story and there'll be some weird cropped image of art, and then it's usually them posed, popping their butts or whatever for people to show off. It usually has some cheesy caption like, came for the art, stayed for the girl, or something stupid like that. Like, it has nothing to do with the art in the background. And I get it, you want a cute picture for Instagram clout, but like, homie Rembrandt or whatever the heck did not die for you to just put a little inkling of whatever it is he painted the background of your picture so that you can flex on the gram. I get upset. I'm just gonna be honest. I get upset. Do not show up to art museums and take pictures like you're like at the mall. There are actually, Matthew, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is such a popular thing in like traditional media culture that there are now pop-up galleries, quote, I'm air quoting, galleries that are solely meant, and they pop up just like, pop-up shops where they just built this structure or inhabit this space and then bounce after like 4 weeks or whatever, that are solely, they're like entirely Instagram backgrounds. Like they're neon walls and colorful chairs and ball pits solely for people to show up and take pictures in it. And if that's your art, go for it. Make that interactive experience. But like, people ain't out here dying, getting degrees, working hard, becoming masters in their craft for you to like show up, flex for the gram, and then bounce. Like, at least read the artist description. Dang.
Jasmine, before we take a 60-second break, I will say I 100% or 75% agree with you, I should say.
75?
Well, I will explain here in a second. So
75%?
Time back in. So, the libertarian in me is going to say, I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. The libertarian in me is going to say, let people, do what they want to do. But I agree. I think it's pretty dumb. Especially if you're, I don't know how to say this, but, social media literate. Mm-hmm. You can, if somebody posts a picture like that and they're not about it kind of thing, you know what I mean? About art,
Yeah.
You obviously know, oh, that's just them trying to post some stuff for social media. So I agree with you. It's fake. If you're going to go to an art gallery, actually enjoy the art and try to absorb it in. And just this past weekend, me and Jasmine went to CAM,
Yep.
St. Louis.
Yep.
Contemporary Art Museum.
Is it CAM St. Louis? It might be.
Well, because they just called it CAM, but I feel like if you just say CAM and you say Contemporary Art Museum.
Yeah, that's a bit general. So yeah.
So the Contemporary Art Museum in St. Louis, which was a fun time. It was interesting. We should have talked about our trip to St. Louis.
Yeah, we should. I actually had the booklet so I could actually shout out that girl who had that gallery that I love.
Grab it. It's right
Please
over there.
do. I will keep the audience engaged. One of the reasons why I'm so touchy about this topic is because, like, if you're going to, like, a small term gallery, like, the artists who are dead are dead. Like, you know, you can't really make clout profit off of them. But if you're going to, like, a small time studio where people are, like, barely making ends meet and you're, like, flexing in front of their image, it's kind of like, well, dang, like, why? At least, like, tag them or something so they can get, like, some views or whatnot. But yeah, should we talk about our trip to St. Louis? Do you want to talk?
I mean, we were already 40 minutes into the show, so I guess we should keep it brief since we are technically within your topic already. So we should just maybe briefly touch on it.
Okay, shout out to St. Louis. I am a Chicago native through translation, I will say, because people who are actually from the Chicago area are very touchy, and respectfully so. Totally get in my Chi-Town brothers and sisters. I am not one of you. But if you live outside of the state of Illinois, in your eyes, I'm from Chicago. So Chicago people, I'm sorry. I'm not a big Chicago city person. Why? Because it costs like $75 to freaking inhale. And that's like one nostril. You haven't even let it back out. They're going to charge you for that too. Like, you step outside, bang. You park your car, bang. You smile at someone, bang. Like, it's so expensive to, like, exist. Like, I recently bought a car and it was really cool. But there's a specific tax. Like, if I was to say, not even if I bought the car from Chicago, if I was to say my address, like the place that I reside, was in Cook County, the county that Chicago resides in, they were going to tax me for it. Not even because I bought the car in Chicago. I wasn't in Chicago when I bought the car, but because my address, my personal address, is in Chicago, they were going to tax me. How does that make sense? Chicago, explain. Chicago, explain. But anyway, Chicago is so expensive to do anything, but St. Louis, almost everything is free, and it's so magical. We were able to see...
What the hell, man? I put it in a new spot.
Matthew is now yelling at his alcoholic beverage.
I'm done.
Okay. We were able to see so much just because St. Louis things are relatively free, as they should be, because taxes. And it was great. So we went to camp. That was a very fun time.
After that, we went to the Historical Museum.
The History Museum of Missouri, or the Missouri History Museum.
Yes, in St. Louis.
Yeah, a very
which was
beautiful
fun.
building. Yeah. Not too much going on the inside. Like,
we saw the bruh.
Oh my gosh! If you are at home, look up right now the history of the St. Louis City Museum, or St. Louis City flags. You're gonna know when you see it, but just look at the bruh flag. It will tickle you.
So we had a fun time doing that. We saw about 90% of the exhibit. There was two things in the museum that we kind of missed out on. One of them we just flew through. After that, we went to the funnest part of the trip, in my opinion. I don't know if Jasmine agrees. The aquarium.
Oh my gosh.
That was so fun.
It was so much fun.
Can we just acknowledge for a second? I am an animal whisperer.
Oh my gosh.
Animals are in love with me. They're attracted to me. I don't know what it is. Jasmine can vouch for me. She knows.
Yes. Okay, so bit of backstory. Matthew preaches this every time he sees a dog. Like, when there have been several times where me and Matthew are driving somewhere and he'll see a dog, like, sticking out of the car. And Matthew will, like, look at the window and be like, Jesse, look at the dog. Look, hi, dog. He always does this goofy voice. And the dog, sure as day, will, like, look in Matthew's direction. And it'll, like, Matthew's face will, like, light up like a child. He's like, look, Jesse, I told you I have a dog whisperer. He heard me. And I'm like, why? But yes, animals love Matthew.
Thank you. I'm glad we have that on the record. Cats, kind of. It's more of a hit or miss when it comes to cats.
Cats only truly love themselves. So.
But, I mean, fair. But for the most part, I'm an animal whisperer, and I had another example today. Or not today, I'm sorry. During that day, rather. Jess, would you like to recount the tale, or shall I recount the tale?
Well, first, there's two tales. The first one is, like, not as impressive because it's natural, but the second one we will get into. So they have this tank of what they call doctor fish, and I think they said something about they're only located in like a certain part of Missouri and then like in some parts of Asia or something like that. And they're called doctor fish because they can cure skin cancer. And they eat the dead skin cells off of your body, basically. So when you put your fingers in this tank, they will like swarm to your fingers and your body, and it's so creepy because it's like these tiny little microscopic kisses just sucking on your skin.
It was a bit trippy to put the hand in there.
There was like the cutest little boy, this cute little black boy. He was so scared, and his mom went to get a picture of him. She was like, "Just put your hand in, I'll give you $1." And he was like, shorty, I ain't doing it. And she was like, "I'll give you $5." And the poor like little worker who was facilitating was like, $5? You can buy a lot with $5. Like wink, like trying to trick this poor kid. And he was too scared. And I was like, look at that little kid. He's so silly. It's just some fish. Like, why are you scared, kid? And then I got up there and I was like, you want me to put my fingers in that? It was so weird. Oh, it was awful. Of course, Matthew did not care, but I was terrified.
No, I mean, it was weird. It was like, I think Jasmine described it as like a magnet, and that is true. Like, if you ever had like that kind of like those toy magnets where like, it's I forgot what it's called.
The iron. Are you talking about those?
The iron shillings,
like the
or
little
whatever.
etch and sketch.
Yeah, like kind of things like that. It was like that. The second the magnet touches, so the second your hand goes in, instantly they all come around you. And eventually I put my whole hand in there. Oh my God, they just all swarmed my hand.
And it's like every square inch. It's not like 2 of them sit in there, but like as many tiny fish, because they're so small, like no bigger than maybe your fingertip or maybe a little bit longer. They will cover every square inch of whatever skin you put in that tank. It is terrifying. Also, quick COVID disclaimer, we did wash our hands after this because gross, and it was only your hands. But yeah, it was terrifying. But on to story number 2. They have, and was it manta stingray or were they just...
manta rays.
Manta rays.
They have both. They have stingrays and manta rays, but the ones you can pet are manta rays.
Yeah, they had this cute little tank full of all these adorable little stingrays that of course you can put your hand in and pet. And Jasmine, being the wuss that I am, was terrified. But Matthew was like, I'm gonna pet some stingray.
Manta rays.
Sorry.
Manta rays.
Well, there was the big pancake one that looked like a stingray.
Fair.
And before you guys judge me at home, okay, I remember Steve Irving? Is that his name? Irwin?
Steve Irwin.
I remember Steve Irwin's stingrays, okay? You ain't slick around here.
Remember Steve Irwin? Never forget.
Yes.
I'm from New York. I can make that joke.
Exactly. So we ain't cool around these parts. The manta rays, y'all still kind of kin. So I got my eyes on you too. But I wasn't going to be like, okay, I got the chance to touch one and I like said no. I didn't want that on my conscience. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put my little fingers in.
To be fair, I had to coax you to put your fingers in.
I knew. It was kind of like, do I want to deal with Matthew's peer pressure now or deal with him roasting me for not doing it? So I did eventually. But that's not the important part. The important part was that there was this cute old man and like what looked like his granddaughter that were maybe a couple feet from us on this tank because it was pretty big. And he was like holding his little granddaughter's hand in the water so she can pet the stingray because you can only like touch them with like 2 hands on their back or whatever.
2 fingers.
Yes, 2 fingers, sorry. And they kept skirting right on past. They did not care about that little girl. The party was at Matthew. Okay, they would come by. His hand wouldn't even be in the water. They were like little dogs. They'd just be climbing over each other, like scurrying up to the top to get him to touch them. It was so cute.
It was those manta rays were the cutest freaking thing. Like,
they were adorable.
I remember at one point it was literally like there was like 6, 7, 8 of them that they just like all at once like came to our little corner, and I was like, oh my God, like I don't even want to like. And then that big one came in, I was like, I don't even want to put my finger in the water.
No, it was so awkward because like the little cute ones would come by, you'd be like, oh my gosh, Matthew have his hand in the water, like, oh look, Jasmine, they're so cute. And then the big one would come by, like hands out. We were just like hands by our side, like whoa.
Pretty much.
It was just terrifying. That little guy could have been the sweetest little thing, but he looked mean, so I was not having it.
Yeah, I felt bad, but like also my just natural instincts were like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, we stuck to the little cute ones that actually looked like they wanted to be pet, and kind of like the doctor fish, like they would come and like flop near the top.
Yeah, like they would literally, like the manta rays would literally like come. They would, because it's like a it's not a perfect circular pool. It's more like an oval.
It was kind of like a bean shape.
Yeah,
it kind of curved a bit.
Yeah, little curves here and there, and they would literally, they would fly. They would not fly. They would swim by you. But I mean, they were fast, which is why I use the word.
Yeah.
But they would swim by you real quick, and you would get a quick chance to pet them. But once they realized, like, oh, he's petting people, he's handing out the pets, they would like circle back and like actually like swim towards the surface, and they did the cutest little thing where they would like open their mouths, their
little gills or whatever.
Or little gills, yeah.
Yeah.
And they would like, boop, 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 boop.
Like even if your hands were in the water, they were like climbing over each other. They're like only in this one spot. Sorry to that little girl and her grandpa, but it was so cute. I like felt so bad. I touched one, and it was like, if you want a visual, or I guess an audible take on what petting a manta ray is like.
It's kind of slimy.
Yes, it's like petting an egg that's been sitting in oil. Like if you just take a boiled egg and you run it in a whole bunch of vegetable oil, that's what a sting or a manta ray feels like. Except the manta rays are cute, and eggs
Incredibly
are
cute. Incredibly
just
cute.
eggs.
I would say, and this is just because an experience I've felt recently. If you're seasoning some chicken, before you season the chicken, hold on. If you put raw chicken that you get from like the grocery store or whatever, like chicken breasts, and you put them in like a bowl or whatever, and at least me personally, before I season the chicken breasts, I pour some olive oil.
Yeah,
right,
you get
on the
them all
chicken breast.
oiled up.
All oiled up, yeah, exactly. So they can receive the seasoning well, better than without the oil, right? Before you put the seasoning in, feels a little bit like that.
Yeah, because they kind of have a bit, they're not firm. They do have a little bit of softness to them.
There's a little bit of softness. There's also a little bit of grip. A little bit, but it's not perfectly slimy. But there's a little bit there. You can feel it.
So folks at home, tell your friends, okay? Manta rays, oiled chicken, a little firm, not too firm. Still got a little squish in them. That's a direct quote.
Shake my
You
head.
heard it here first. But there were times where even our hands weren't in the water. Like when we started to walk away to wash our hands, they would still like centralize and climb at that one spot where we were, as if they're like, where the pets at? Where y'all going? What's up? And I felt so bad.
I wanted to keep petting them for a long time.
They were really cute.
They were so cute, and yeah, Matthew confirmed animal whisperer for the boys on land and in water.
If you want to know just how cute they were, we also got to see a sloth. And I completely forgot about the sloth until this exact moment.
Before you said that, I forgot about the sloth.
Because we came up the stairs from downstairs, and then there was a sloth. And they were like, oh, you're just in time. He's about to knock out.
To be fair, also sloth. So it's kind of very forgettable.
Yeah.
Especially compared to the cutest little smiles of the manta rays.
Yeah, they were cute. Whoever called them dogs of the sea, someone said that. I saw it on Twitter. You're correct. They are cute little dogs.
So cute. Anyway, I'm sorry. We literally went on like 5-minute tangent about just manta rays. And the fact that I'm an animal whisperer. Challenge me, I dare you. Anyway, so then we went from there, saw the big tank that they have.
The sharks and more manta rays and cute little turtles.
And stingrays.
Yep, and stingrays.
And there was a bunch of different like fish in there as well.
Got to see some piranhas.
We saw them feeding. Yeah, we saw piranhas. We saw
very
jellyfish.
scary giant octopus.
An octopus, yes. And from there...
And the cute little jellyfish.
Yes, and the jellyfish. We saw the sea dragons.
The sea dragons.
Remember, I call them seahorses, but they were actually like sea.
Oh, yes. Oh, the leaf ones. Yes. Now, I am not familiar with the takes of the ocean, but there's literally, it looks like a Pokemon. So picture your seahorse, like your typical seahorse that you like envision in your head, but imagine on like every 2 every inch on its body is like a giant leaf thing. That's what these things look like. They just looked like leaves.
True.
It was so weird.
True, I ain't gonna die. True.
Yeah. They were creepy.
So after that, we left the St. Louis Museum. We stopped by Jasmine's job.
Yeah.
And we took some pictures, and then we drove past the arch, and we went home.
Yeah.
That pretty much encompasses our trip, right?
Yeah, it was very fun. Had a good time.
You haven't shouted out the artist yet, have you?
Yes, I was waiting to circle back to that.
So yes, the artist with who we, for better or worse, remembered the most about that trip.
Yes. So we were in this one part of the gallery, and I should have grabbed the paper with this artist as well. But in the distance of this huge space, in the corner, there's an opening where we just see a bunch of light. And you just hear like this faint beat. And we weren't really sure what was happening. Matthew pointed out first, and he like turned to me and he's like, I don't know what's going on in there, but I'm a little nervous. And I was like,
yeah.
It sounded almost like a children's playpen. Like I almost thought I heard water at some point. It sounded like a playpen, like a children's playpen. Like I thought I heard like giggles. But eventually we finished this one space in the gallery and we go in there and it's so hard to think how to describe it. But basically this artist, they buy used and broken old massagers from like older than you and I, like probably from like the 90s and 80s. Like they were old and usually broken. I think it specifically said the artist chose to get broken ones and put fake plants into like the openings where the massaging would happen. So you enter the room, there's like party lights and all of these rotating fake plants on body massagers. And it was like stepping into a plant party with these like nice hypno beats with gospel music in the background. So it was like, Father, where art thou? But like to like some ounce music. And it was like so fun. It was like so cute. It was amazing. I loved it. And I heard that beat in my head for like the next hour.
It was interesting. There were points where like it made me anxious and nervous and like I didn't like it, but then there were other parts. And this was over the span of like 2 minutes. And then there were like other parts where I was like, I'm digging this. This is hilarious. This is fun.
I loved every second. So the artist, Rachel Yoon Gather, they use they, them pronouns. They basically dedicate the gallery to their, and I'm going to make this brief, but summarizing it as their experience being queer and navigating their Christian household and Christian family background and what it was like finding a space for them in the form of party music and fake plants flopping around on some body massagers. And if you ever hear this, Rachel Yoon Gather, I appreciated the experience that you put together.
And may I add on to that something else I read that I don't know if you missed or not, but they went even further and said that the exhibit was an attempt to bridge that gap between those two worlds and create a space for both, for a connection.
And what a magical space it was.
It was terrifying.
I hear the beats in my head even now.
Anyway.
Yeah, that was a long tangent. We haven't even gotten to your topic.
Well, no, we're still on your topic.
Oh, we're still going.
We haven't even finished. Well, I mean, unless there's nothing else you have to say.
Oh, I could go on for days.
I mean, admittedly, like I don't think I have much else to say about it.
Oh yeah, what was your 25%? Just the fact that it's people's rights to take pictures?
I mean, basically, like yeah, like not. I wouldn't even go as far as rights, but just like yeah, like if somebody wants to go like take a picture, like you're exposing yourself hard to the fact that you're a poser, but.
Yeah.
You know, and you're not actually about it. But if somebody wants to take a picture in front of like a Picasso or something or whatever and be like, yo, my blue period.
Boo.
Boo. But like, I mean, go for it. Fine. You're a phony.
Don't do
sure.
I will find your Instagram post because normally, it's only because I have a bachelor's of fine arts, but most of the pictures, if I see people that I know do it, then I'll comment and I'll be like, oh, I'm a big fan of Monet, or oh, I really like Ellsworth Kelly too, or wow. And people will usually either not respond or feel uncomfortable because I just, out of the fact that they just took a picture in front of someone's critically acclaimed work or very famous work or X, Y, and Z and did not even pay the artist any mind. And if you are Jeff Koons and you have taken a picture in front of a Jeff Koons piece, this does not apply to you because I don't like that man. And you can tell him I said that.
Yikes. I actually don't really know who that person is.
He does the big metal balloon dogs and like giant metal sculptures, except in person he's a piece of trash. Jeff Koons, I'm talking to you.
Yikes. I guess we'll have that conversation for another time. But Jasmine, you mentioned earlier that you have like 2 ideas in your head that are similarly related. Or for a topic, what was your other topic idea?
Oh, so this is kind of a small thing that relates back to a larger thing. But to keep it kind of brief, basically artists in many ways are kind of like put down just because a lot of people see art as easy. And there are many ways that this is done almost systematically, if you would. For example, just like copyright laws and things like that, where it's so easy to steal someone's work and get away with it. And the only big thing in the big area where that's not true is in music, you know? But my dad is, as I was kind of getting him involved in what I was interested in as an artist, was always like, don't forget to put your watermarks on it. You know, do you have a watermark? This, then the other. I was like, Dad, I can't watermark it. Like, it's not mine anymore. And it's just kind of the conversation of why so much of the things that we create and your intellectual property is worth so little. Like the person who decided to design any logo, like maybe it was the Noodles & Co. logo or the Nike logo or X, Y, and Z, did that for a fee. You know, maybe it was hourly, maybe it was contractual. But unlike music where there's royalties and you get a piece, most of the time the artist, it's one and done. And it's reprinted thousands of times and used commercially everywhere. But we don't get a small cut of that. Nor would you ever know who the creator of the Nike swoosh is, you know? And that's been reprinted. It's like it's a visual cultural staple, but we don't give them the right, you know? But with music or I don't even know, maybe not. And photography might be a similar example of this where, you know, you never know who the stock photographer is. It's just the photographer. But it's kind of that ownership. And you see that in industries like modeling, where they have to fight to own their own individual face and their image, and celebrities and art, where it's kind of like our identity is valuable in their eyes because it makes them money, but outside of that, we're worth very little. And I think it's done intentionally, because if you as a business owner have the greatest idea of the world and you don't know how to market it, you're not going to make any money. Because no one wants to buy something that's ugly. And art is such a powerful influence in how we consume media and understand media and buy things. It's a big part of our capitalist society. But if you don't have any sort of creative imagery to make it so appealing, you just have a good idea, and you can only get so far with that. And I think people that have money and have these big ideas know this, and so they specifically have these systems in place where it's like, we can't run without you. Because the owner of Nike can't make the Nike swoosh, but the designer who did can make Nike. You know what I'm saying? And I think I don't know. It's just an interesting conversation as to why that is, and why can't I fully own my creative mind?
I'm not sure I have an answer to that. That is a very interesting idea. Yeah, with music, it's royalties, but with someone who makes a logo, this is on the spot, so like maybe you can poke holes in this or something. But I guess the only thing I can think of is, for music, the artist of the music, for the most part, made and decided everything. For someone who makes a logo, you are just making the visual representation that's attached to something else. You didn't also make the product. You didn't also engineer the product or whatever it is. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can think of on the spot.
This is my attempt to poke holes at that. I think you're saying we don't own the original concept. We own how that concept is visualized. But to that, I would say a big part of Apple is its marketing. If Apple was marketed different than Apple is marketed, it might not have grown to what it is. It was marketed as this modern, sexy, young, trendy company that's blown up. And it's almost like having an Apple product is more of an aesthetic than it is owning a product. Because, no offense to Apple products, not all of them are that good. Sorry, argue with your mama, not me. But, like, it's marketed in a way that's fun, and everyone has heard of a Apple ad that stuck with them because of the visuals, or like remember when they did the Animoji stir fry advertisement? Like everyone was talking about that because it was so fun. Like that idea helps sell the product. And sure, the product is good, but there's plenty of products out there that aren't good that are marketed great. And I mean, I'm blanking on the now. Oh, here's a product that's marked. Well, never mind. I was gonna say flat tummy tea. It looks really cute, but we all know it doesn't do anything. But they also have the work of like celebrities, so
yeah, and Instagram models.
Yeah.
I guess my counterpoint to Apple would be, as much as I like to join the anti-bandwagon like Apple kind of train, I don't think it's just their marketing. They do have some really solid products that they sell. Like I said, as much as I want to wail against Apple and say Apple sucks, which they do, they do have some really solid products, and it's not just that; it's the reputation that's behind Apple. For better or worse, that reputation follows their products. But I don't know; it's a hard conversation for me to have because my mind isn't entirely made up, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm being pulled in two different directions, because on one hand I agree with you, but on the other hand I'm like, I can see it both ways is what I'm trying to say.
Like, I have a particular bank that I use, and its website is so ugly. It's not super user friendly, but it works. And it's like, I use it because that's my bank. But if it looked nicer, I would enjoy using it more. And I'm not the type of person to where it'd be like, your website is too ugly, I'm not going to use it. But there's probably many a times where you click on a website and you're like, this is gross. And it makes you assume that whatever the company is unprofessional, or it's not legitimate, or you just don't want to take their business there because the website is ugly. That aspect, the success of the product based on the website alone, it should be credited to the graphic designers and the UI designers and all the people that put effort into making that ad what it is. Because advertisements and design and visuals is all very, very strategic, and people design things in a way that they know will get the eyes of individuals who are, the demographic and the target audience. And that's a big part of consumerism. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if the solution is every designer should get a cut. I think music is kind of the one area that kind of has that down packed, where it's like, I'm using your name is just as valuable as your art.
So, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Were you gonna?
No, I was wrapping up. Go ahead.
So I think it just comes back to that point where with music, the artist in a perfect world had their hand in everything to do with the product. So, well, I know in reality that doesn't always happen.
Ghostwriters.
Yes, and people who make beats for people and stuff like that. Like, in reality, it's not always that clear cut. But in a perfect world, an artist for music had a hand in everything that came together to make the song, and at the very least, they have ownership over everything that encompasses that song. So when somebody uses that, that's why they would get royalty. I mean, I'm with you. I'm like, again, I want to say I'm torn a bit because I can see it both ways. But I think with something like music, they own the entire thing. Whereas if you make a brand logo, you don't own the brand, you don't own the product, whatever product that they sell, you don't do, the only thing that the person did, not that it's not important or that's not significant, but the only portion that the artist did was the image.
Well, even with artists, they have record labels that help them market. They help them, get stylists and managers and things like that, and push them to do certain brand deals versus others to help advance their careers. They're kind of the graphic designers of art. The only difference is record labels are typically exploiting those artists, whereas agencies and owners of products that are being branded are exploiting the artists. So it kind of flip-flops. At the end of the day, I just think there's a big imbalance when you paid me as a graphic designer, and this is totally hypothetical, but to make you a logo for $500, and then you then slap that on 50,000 boxes and sold them for $50 each. That my image that you now technically purchased from me is generating you more income than me. But then people turn around and say that, oh, $500 for a logo, that's too high. You can't expect cheap labor from me to then turn around and profit off that. Like, if you know you're going to turn a profit, then at least cut me a check too. I don't know. Because designs will make or break you. I
wish I had more to say. I think it's a very interesting. I think that's a very interesting idea of why don't artists in other fields get like royalty checks and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't think I have. That's something I gotta like sit on and stew on. You know what I mean? Like I gotta let that sit in the pot. You know,
because the same way, boil. Like movies, at the end of the movie, list everybody who did it, but name one commercial where there's a credit. You'll never know. And there's sometimes where, like, when I was looking for jobs as I was graduating, I was like, oh, I want to know who made this. Like, I love this. I want to know who did that. It's impossible to trace back who designed some of the things that we know. And I think it's done on purpose because these businesses are like, well, this agency over here doing good work for us, we're going to keep them on the low. Or even they'll go so far as to absolve them and eat them, if you would, and that becomes their in-house team. And that's that. It's a weird one. Yeah, and I won't lie, it's something I haven't totally thought about, but it's an interesting concept. I wish I had more to say, but it's something that it's something I'm torn upon. I can see it from both sides. I really can. I wish I had more to say. And I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorist. I mentioned at the beginning, but I think it's done on purpose because, again, you can have an ugly product and it probably won't do so well. But if you have a very good a bad product that's marketed really, really well, it's going to succeed.
You're absolutely right, Jasmine.
Like all of us designers and creative people in general. I'm sorry, I keep saying designers, copywriters, conceptualists, videographers, script writers, all you other creative people that I am not including, you guys are all a big part of this. Because you guys don't always get that credit either. Each industry has very different ways of going about it, to put it in a general way. It is a weird thing. It is a weird thing between different disciplines and stuff like that and mediums. Anyway, Jazzy T, is there anything else you want to say about your topic? Is there anything else you wanted to say in general before we move on? Oh man, I'm a talker. I could go on forever, but I'm going to pass the mic to you. This is your podcast after all.
Yes, I am the boss.
And now we're going to cut to commercial. No,
yeah, Harpo's people outside.
Quick side tangent. If you are at Harpo's or have been to Harpo's at any point, I'm judging you because it's a pandemic, so take your tail home.
Well, what is that? I've been to Harpo's. You said at any point.
Yeah. Well, oh, sorry. Okay, at any point since pandemic was in full swing, you have been judged. Don't argue with me. Argue with your mamas.
And that's on God. Amen. Jasmine, if we're done with your topic, then we shall move on to my topic.
Oh, can't wait.
Jasmine, this is an age-old debate.
Oh, no.
Age-old debate. I don't know if you want to have this debate, but I was thinking that my topic would be, what is art?
I wish I had spoke for an hour about mine if we were going to have such deep debates now.
Maybe we won't, because to be fair, we have argued about this time and time again, and it's something we might feel like there's really not much to say now at this point. But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We'll dig up the old memories and old arguments.
But let me just introduce it real quick. an age-old question for anybody is, what is art? If you've ever walked into a museum and you've looked at an art museum and you've looked at something and be like, is that really art? You have experienced this problem.
Has this ever happened to you?
If you've ever looked at a child's drawing and been like, is that art? You've experienced this argument. Okay? And the argument is, the question is, what is art? Who can be an artist and what is art? I am of the camp, and just for, I guess, clarity's sake, I guess I'm not a traditional artist.
You're creative.
I mean, I'm creative, but I don't know if I would go as far as to say that I am an artist.
I mean, I feel like this podcast is creative in its nature, therefore it's a art product.
Yeah, like I'm a writer, and I do creative writing sometimes, not as much as I used to.
Photographer.
And I'm a photographer, and I have this podcast, and I do photo editing. So, like, in some ways, I am an artist, but I wouldn't go as far as to claim myself as an artist. And I am definitely not a fine artist in the genre.
I think you're pretty attractive.
I find myself to be pretty attractive, too. Thank you, Jasmine. But
That was pretty bad.
listen.
That joke was sponsored by Trops.
Yeah. Some of the noises in this podcast have also been sponsored by Drops. I am so pissed that this thing keeps doing the little, like, why do
I
you...
still have a ton left. I'm terrible at drinking.
Or slurping.
Sorry, Mom.
I guess. Your mom ain't never gonna listen to this. Probably.
Anyway, back to the introduction.
I mean, that's basically just it. So my position is, I'm not totally an artist, in my opinion. I dabble in the arts. Like I said, writer, creative writer, photographer, and I have some creative pursuits. So that's just for clarity's sake.
But what is your formal stance? Like, what is the thesis?
Well, I'm getting around
My
to it.
bad.
I'm just interesting. Not interesting. I'm introducing the lens of what's going on, okay? Of where I'm coming from. My official stance is, and I don't, well, hold on, I'll get to that. Okay. My official stance is, I think anything and anyone can be, anything can be art and anyone can be an artist. I will clarify that statement with saying, will it be good art? Or will you be a good artist? Maybe not. But I think anything and anyone can be art. And that is my official stance. And that is what I go with. Okay? Jasmine, on the other hand, disagrees with me as far as I know.
In some ways, my official stance.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yeah. Hello. Matthew has gone to use the bathroom, so I'm hijacking the podcast to say I was going to do a fake ad, but instead I'm going to make this a PSA, which is pay your creatives, okay? We work really hard. If your creative tells you, hey, pay me this much, don't argue with them. You know, it may seem expensive to you, but if you felt so strongly about getting a creative work and didn't want to pay for it, you could have done it yourself. But you're not going to do that because you're not good at it. So pay people who are good at it and pay them what they're worth. Brought to you by the anonymous, I don't know, what would that be considered? Union? The Anonymous Union of Creatives. What is that? AUOA. Yes. Back to your regular scheduled program.
I haven't put on the cans yet. So we're not there yet.
Don't argue with me, argue with your mama. You can tell I said that too.
And you moved the mic, Jasmine.
I was very passionate.
Cardinal sin.
Sue me.
Okay. That stopped. We were just talking about...
Man, I hope people aren't bored. They're like,
Okay.
dude, how long are they going to talk about art? Oh my gosh.
Have you listened to this podcast before?
Yes, I have. And
Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes it's real interesting.
yeah. No. I was gonna mention the episode that I thought was particularly boring, but I'm not going to do that.
No, Jasmine, I know exactly what you're talking about, and go for it, Jasmine, because, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to hold my tongue until you say it. I'm going to piggyback off of what you're about to say.
I don't remember the name of this particular show. but there's a particular episode, you at home might know it, where Matthew and his guest, Cameron, talked about the show for 8 hours straight. And I was like, what in God's green earth? Why? Why are we doing this? It was like the podcast was hijacked by Netflix. It was unpaid too. They just free of charge, baby.
I'm not gonna get into it, but I agree. It wasn't a good episode, and I actually forgot what my greater point was, to be honest.
Exactly.
But yeah, it wasn't great.
We're working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I do my best.
I'm also a very big fan of this podcast, so I oftentimes drop Matthew notes of, hey, maybe you should, like, not talk about this for so long. Maybe you, like, cut it down a bit. And
Ironically, both of our topics have been about art.
No, so. I want things to be natural. I know. And Matthew, future Matthew, if you're listening to this, and I've been talking for 2 days long, you have my permission. Cut that. It ain't none to cut that off. Go ahead and cut it down, sir. Cut it down. We are not trying to bore the children.
Back in. Wait. Who the fuck is talking outside?
Matthew is now angry yet again of the people talking outside.
Listen, while I realize it's a daily occurrence, me being mad, stop talking outside, man. Let me live my life.
You may be thinking, well, why did you live across the street from a bar? And to that I say...
I was lied to.
Good question.
I was
Excellent
lied
question.
to. I was lied to. Shout out to Initial N is what I will just say. I'm not going to actually put their name.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. You won't get no shout out from me, man. I got beef with you. You ain't even know me, but I got beef with you. I don't like you. I think you and your whole system is ghetto, girl. You need to work on that.
Oh, yikes.
I don't know who your employee is. Maybe they ain't train you right, but you got some work to do, hun.
Employer?
Yes, your employer. Tell him I got beef with him too, and his mama. That's not true. Take his mama out.
I mean, maybe his mama is a problem.
I do not know that homie's mama unless his mama is involved, in which case the beef remains.
Even though I still hear them yelling, what is art? Jasmine, again, I will restate, you believe it's more selective, and I think anything and everything can be art.
Well, let me clarify, because my stance is very specific. My stance is anything can be art. However, not everyone is an artist. Now, Matthew very specifically says can. Anyone can be an artist. I agree. Anyone can be an artist, but not everyone is an artist.
This is an updated stance from you. This is not what I don't believe you said this last time.
The more I think about it, the more I spend time thinking about it, the more I think I tailor my stance. However, I think the areas where you say everything is art, I kind of put into more specific categories. Like, not everything is fine art. Not everything is art. Like, for example, little Timmy's little crayon sculpture, little macaroni noodle necklace. That is artistic, and it is an art form. Now, would I consider it to be art? I don't know.
So listen, with the is it fine art? No, obviously not. Mm-hmm. But I think just through definition alone, we gotta say it's art.
But so what's definition alone?
The definition of art? Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on. I want to see if I actually have this somewhere.
Oh, boy.
I think I actually came up with a definition of art that I like. I think I saved it to my phone because I knew one day...
I'm excited to hear this.
I knew one day we were going to have this conversation.
Matthew is now yelling at his cellular device. Interesting how anything can capture his rage.
Oh my God.
Nothing and no one is safe. He is now frustrated. He looks disappointingly at his cellular device, and now at me, as I narrate the experience for you at home.
Dear Diary, it's been 3.5 years, and Matthew still isn't funny. Woo. Jazzy T, 5-4. You put
I think that's
2020.
Okay.
It looked like an 8, but
it is now Tuesday,
Jasmine, you said I was funny today, so don't even go for that.
September 29th of 2020. It has now been a little over 4 years. And to pass Jasmine, I will say Matthew still isn't funny. We need a blooper reel. We've had a lot of side conversations.
Jasmine, be honest with the audience. Mm-hmm. You said I was funny today. Twice. Maybe even 3 times.
The words did physically leave my mouth. Matthew is funny. And this is the only proof you will have at that. Now, did I say I was honest? Did I say I was dishonest? That is not in writing, nor will I confess to either.
Jasmine, you're a punk. Now listen.
Hey, we could take this outside. We could be up in the Harpo Street as we speak.
Yeah, you could be like that girl who fell feet up.
Shout out to that girl. I hope you're okay.
Oh, yeah, she got right up.
I'm sorry he did that to you, sweetie. You did not deserve.
Probably didn't, yeah. I would agree. Regardless of the fact that I am funny. I know you disagree, or publicly disagree.
That's an argument. Is or is Matthew funny?
Based on this podcast, yes, I am funny.
Throwback to episode 1. Matthew is not tall either.
Episode 2.
Was that episode 2?
You fake fan, yeah.
Oh, gosh. All right.
And
I'm sorry.
am. Something I wrote on my phone.
Okay.
Is art something done through a medium to convey a meaning from the artist? Now, that meaning can be anything that it needs to be.
Ooh, Matthew. You've really done yourself in.
Okay, what?
That is so vague.
But it's vague on purpose because I think art can be anything.
But Matthew, you and I both, you especially, you like putting things into song. Matthew will occasionally enjoys breaking onto like mini tunes that he finds funny and wholesome. And admittedly, they are pretty cute. But by your definition, or like me, I love singing things. I'll break out into song any day. Me randomly singing like, it's raining outside, oh yeah. That becomes art because I'm expressing that it's raining to a song.
Yes.
That's stupid.
Not all art is going to be intelligent. Some art, like the macaroni art, is stupid, but it's still art.
Okay. Yes, I agree. See, for me, stuff like that doesn't become art. It's artistic expression. But does it have to be art? No. For example, you doodling a frowny face is not art. It's artistic expression. I'm
going to say no.
You're saying drawing a frowny face is art?
Yes. I think
so that means anytime you use an emoji, you're emoting, therefore it's art?
No. Because you're using an emoji. You're using a whatever the hell.
But it was drawn by someone and created digitally.
Maybe, but that's not what... Well, okay, sure. It's art.
The plot thickens.
Excuse me.
Disgusting.
Disgusting. That isn't... Okay, I'm done. Hey, you just laughed. Funny.
I'm sorry, by that definition, it's very, very, very vague. I could laugh at things and they not be funny. The same way... You can use artistic expression and it not be art. The reason why I have my specific stance, and Matthew likes to say I'm an art elitist, and that's totally fair. I'll own up to that. But to me, being an artist, especially being a fine artist, and I say fine artist specifically because there are people who like to create artworks that aren't necessarily original or organic. Like there are people that create fan art. Granted, fan art's a bit different because it's usually done in the hand of the artist. But I know individuals I follow on Twitter that like taking scenes from TV shows. Oh, I know what I'm saying. The reason why I have such a specific stance. Matthew likes to say I'm an art elitist. Fine, so be it. But the reason why I have such a specific stance is fine artists are as much conceptualizers as they are artists. Like you may see a painting, but behind that painting was technique and the strokes and the rendering and the decisions on how they executed it. It could have been a painting done entirely out of Q-tips, and that plays a part into that creative process and their art. There are some people who create art in the form of painting, but it has no concept. It's just creating for the sake of creating. And that is where I think just artists come into. Like, that's not really fine art because it doesn't have concept, but it is artistic expression and creates a piece of artwork. Exceptions to this that fall into fine art is dancers. They are doing a physical artwork that was taught by someone, but behind that is concept in the movement is supposed to portray specific expressions or emotions or convey the creator's expression in the music or rhythm, X, Y, and Z. It could be historical, you know. Photographers often have specific approaches on how they render and the lighting and editing as it relates to their larger concept. But there are also people, like I follow people on Twitter that just, you know, take scenes from movies or films and they just recreate it. Sometimes it's to the accuracy of the original artwork, but it's done by hand, and other times, you know, like with fan art, they put their own individual hand into it, and that originality makes it art. Same with, you know, even taking a scene from a TV show. If it's not your original idea, you still painted it, and therefore, you know, that's an artist. But a child making a macaroni necklace, I don't think makes them an artist, because if the entire criteria of being an artist is just making art, then everybody's an artist, and that's just not true. There are people that go to school and train and put in lots of hours to earn that title of being an artist. It's not just something you do.
Well, I would say that in that regard, there's a difference between your profession as an artist or in the moment or describing who made it. Oh, the artist is blank. You know what I mean? So like in the same way that I wouldn't describe myself as an artist, right? But I was the artist behind X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like
so you're saying the difference of being an artist and you playing a artist role in a project of some sort.
Sure, yeah. So like I still believe anybody can be an artist, but obviously not everybody can be artist as a profession.
I mean, I think that's personally up to you. If you don't consider yourself to be an artist, but you're in a artistic...
Actually, real quick, let me qualify that statement. Anybody can attempt to be an artist as a profession. I don't think, obviously not everybody succeeds, not everybody wants to continue with it, not everybody can do it.
These are all true. I've peeped. Some of y'all need some help.
Yikes.
I'm so sorry. That was terribly mean. But the reason why I have such strong qualifiers is, like I previously mentioned, there are people that train really hard to get to the level that they're at. So if everyone can be an artist, then it has no... Then the work that some people put in to master their craft is discredited because everyone's an artist, you know? If I put baking soda in vinegar, that's technically an act of chemistry. I'm not a chemist.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't say it discredits their art or the fact that they put in their work to being a master for an artist.
Well, if you put a Band-Aid on a scar and now you've done a act of medicine and care, you're now a doctor, then no one's a doctor because anyone can be a doctor.
No, not anybody can be a doctor because it requires years and years and years of schooling.
Oh, what was that?
I said it requires years and years and years of schooling.
Oh, I don't know if you know this, but people go to years and years of schooling for art.
Yes.
And they should be recognized for that by the title of artist. We don't have fancy PhDs and MDs and NDs that we can put in front of our names because that's just not how our education works.
Okay, well, then I would argue that is not a problem with us and the word artist. That is something that you and the education system, need to work out.
Well, I can't speak for the artist community, but for me personally, I wear the badge of being an artist proudly because it's something that I am passionate about. The same way people who are doctors of whatever field demand that you put the doctor in front of it because they work to earn that.
Well, let me say this. Despite the fact that everything can be art, I would not say the child who made the macaroni art, their profession is an artist. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Like, I think so. Like, I'm not going around and saying that, oh, anybody can make their profession. I mean, anybody could theoretically make their profession as an artist. But in reality, obviously, a select few people's profession is that of an artist. It's not something that everybody, and this goes for any discipline, it's not something everybody can realistically do. Everybody has the same equal potential to do it, but Not everybody can have the profession of an artist. But I think anything can be art. And anybody can be an artist, at least to some extent.
I mean, as much as I would love to say anything can be art, I see some things as just more as artistic expression.
So, all right, so then let me ask you this. So what about those, like, really far out there, wacky, artistic kind of, like, exhibits or pieces or whatever? Like, they're really abstract.
They're abstract because of conceptualizing and conceptualizations that are applied into the process of how they made that. That's fine art. It's, like perfect example everyone talks about is Jackson Pollock. It may just look like paint splatter that a child can do, but behind that was a technique and a concept that is still talked about in art today and often replicated in many forms of media because he really opened the doors into that area. So it's not just something that, while it may look like something that's wild. Like I remember when we went to SLAM, the St. Louis Art Museum, there was a big, like huge, at least 5 feet by like 10 feet of just these gray, almost mirror-like panels. It was a triptych. So when you looked at it, you saw your reflection, but it was tinted like a little, like a gray. It was almost not super mirror-like. And you immediately were pissed off. You were like, this isn't art. What is this?
Pissed off is a bit extreme. I vaguely remember this, but yeah, I don't think I was pissed off.
But behind those gigantic panels is an individual who put time and concept and research into making that be the physical representation of the concept that he spent time creating.
But couldn't you argue with the macaroni art of the kid? Like he put in maybe not nearly as much time and effort, but he put in time and effort to make his macaroni art.
And if a 5-year-old Timmy comes up to me and says this macaroni sculpture represents the patriarchy and here's why and can defend it, then amen, that boy's an artist. He's earned it. But if you're just like, well, I put this noodle next to this noodle because I liked it. Like that's artistic expression.
But a lot of actual artists, not that there are any shade, but a lot of people who make their not a lot, I shouldn't say that. Some people who make their profession as artists are like that.
But are they trained? Have they been trained?
Yes. I'm not going to throw out any names. I'm not going to throw out any names. But there are some people.
You ain't got to.
There are some people we know.
There are.
Who have done projects in art that have done that.
Yes, but remember I also included training in that aspect. There are people who are trained to become artists. And while they do not have the concept that is included in fine arts, they have gone through training and education to be artists. So while their concept may be lacking, and your work a little sketchy, plagiarized, I ain't gonna tell you, but...
That wasn't what I was referring to, but damn.
But you have gone through the training to be an artist. So therefore, an artist.
I mean, I agree, but that's also because I agree anybody can be an artist.
Anyone can be an artist, yes. But is everyone an artist? No.
As a profession, yeah, not everybody is an artist. I think if you... No, I think that's a bit far. I think ultimately the more plural or the more open thing I am about is anything can be art. Not everything is good art. Not everything is something that I appreciate. As Jasmine knows very well, there are some pieces of art that I scorn. But I think at the end of the day, whether I like it or not, I think anything can be art. And I guess it's how you interpret art and when you view somebody who makes something and like how that relationship works.
Man, I think I'm contradicting myself, but now I don't think I agree that everything can be art. Like, remember when they put the banana on the wall of the art museum and everyone's like, wow, it's so deep, but really someone just taped the banana to the wall of the art museum? If that individual did so with the intention...
I thought that was an actual piece.
No, they did it fake.
Oh.
And then people thought it was real, and so they kept it. And then someone ended up like eating the banana or something dumb. So if that was done with the intention of creating a artistic statement, like the statement of like Duchamp's fountain, where it was literally just like a urinal, you know? Like if it was done intentionally to create an artistic discussion, that then is a form of concept. But like by saying anything is art, someone could technically just take a poop on the sidewalk and be like, come check out my art. I made this.
Yes, and it would be really bad, but
That's not art. I don't think you could do that.
I think anything can be art. Now, if you want to...
That means we as people are art. Well, technically you were made and in a form of expression of love. Hopefully.
LOL, my parents listen to this. They actually do. My dad's one of my... Shout out to you, homie. Shout out
to my homie, Dad.
Shout out to Mr. Rios. My dad's actually... Yeah, from what my mom has told me, my dad actually listens to like every episode.
Aw, shout out to you, Mr. Rios. Appreciate you.
Yeah,
this isn't my podcast. I shouldn't say that.
Well,
but I do appreciate.
I mean, yeah, like I really appreciate it.
But do you see what I'm saying? By your definition, which is doing some artistic... I don't remember what your definition was. Something about... let's refer to the definition.
I said art is something done through a medium to convey a meaning from the artist.
Well, technically, performance art is a medium. So by having sex, your parents created you, life, via performance or action.
But was I
and you were the byproduct of that.
But was I a meaning?
Yeah, you were... Well, no, but the act of having sex was to express love. So now sex is also art. And by you being the byproduct of that sex, you are art.
But would you consider sex a medium?
It's performative. It's physical. It's like dance.
Okay. Now,
acting is also an art.
No, I understand that. When I think of performative, I think of like... not entirely fake, but you know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying?
I think you're just getting hung up on the word performative.
I think it's important.
Yes, but there are some people that do performative art without disclosing that it's performative art.
But at least one party knows it's performative.
Yeah, themselves.
Sure, but that's an important distinction.
I mean, men and women can pretend that they are enjoying themselves in sex, therefore acting, therefore art, therefore...
Well...
That's what I'm saying, Matthew. Your definition allows for too many loopholes.
But that is, at least from my standpoint, that is to the advantage of the definition. I think anything can be art. But when I hear performative, I think you hear perform and you think acting, like it's done with the intention of being witnessed by an audience. Yes.
And in some ways, performative art is with the intention of being witnessed by an audience, because like it's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest, did it make a sound? Like, yes, it did. You know, if no one witnessed the performance, did it happen?
Yes,
you know what I mean? But that's why I was saying like performative art doesn't have to be done with the intention of being witnessed by others. In a way, you now breathing life and walking amongst the earth has been done with the intention of being witnessed by others. It's not like they birthed you and locked you in the basement. They birthed you to carry on their legacy.
Well,
therefore, Matthew has said on this podcast live that people are art.
I did not say that, but yes, they could be. I think that's a gray area. I'm inclined to push back on it a little bit, but I don't entirely disagree with what you're saying. I still hold fast that I think anything... By the way, this is one of the stronger defenses you've actually pulled, Jasmine. I will say. This is one of the stronger...
wow. I feel like that was supposed to be a compliment, but that was very backhanded.
No. I apologize if it came off that way. I genuinely mean, like, I'm impressed. Like, you have, like, before, in my opinion... you've actually, like, you haven't had the best defense of these arguments.
Well, I'll have you know, I have a degree.
You do have a degree in art. That's true. But
Well, Matthew, for the sake, for people listening at home, as I mentioned, I always give Matthew comments, and one of them is not going on for too long on a topic if it's getting boring. So for the sake of not being a hypocrite, would you like to wrap up your argument?
did you put a timer on your watch?
No. This my smartwatch was just buzzing. No, that is my medication timer. But we have been going on for too long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. If you want to wrap up, we can, because I'm sure we can go in circles all day.
Maybe I'll just have to come back on the pod.
Maybe
People
if
are like,
you want to do part
no,
2.
we're good. Leave her at home.
Yeah, all 2 people.
We'll
who
pass this.
listen.
You can
Yeah.
keep her.
I don't know if we'll ever come to like a confirmed, like, I don't think either of us will fully agree with each other, but I mean, that is my definition, and I understand. Don't get me wrong, I really do. I understand your pushback on it, because it's kind of a slippery slope if you agree with my view. But I think I don't know what would be the right word, like ideologically, or conceptually, or just like the idea of the thought of putting a restriction on what can be art. I push back on that more than I push back on everything can be art. So by default, I feel like I have to agree that anything can be art. Not only because I agree with it, but because if I were to say no to that, I'd have to agree to that camp, the other camp of not everything can be art. And I definitely don't agree with that. And I just feel like, especially the way art, in my opinion, at least in academia, is more accepting of what is considered artistic expression and stuff like that, and what can be art. So I feel like if we're gonna go in that direction, if we're gonna be like, yes, this is art, like even the stuff that we question, like, is that art? And people usually go, yes, that's art. If we're going in that trend, then I think, yes, ultimately you have to agree that anything can be art.
I think by opening the floodgates for everything to be art, being someone who creates art loses its value. It still has value in the sense that, like, you can tell a really good, like a realism painting from something that's more impressionist. Like, you still...
There are 2 examples on the wall right there.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot those were behind me. You still have that to kind of value which art... I mean, putting the whole genres against each other is really stupid anyway, but for lack of a good example, you can tell someone who's good at, drawing faces versus someone who doesn't. But I think by saying, everyone can be art, you create kind of this... I think it just limits the value of artists. Kind of back to what I was talking about with, like, limiting and discrediting the value of artists. It's the same way you have to work really hard to be a doctor and get all sorts of credentials and things. Artists are the same way. We work hard to get to where we are and to say that we are who we are, You never go to a hospital. Well, that's not true. I was going to say you never go to a hospital and question how much they charge you, but I do that all the dang time. Fix our Medicare system. But, like, if a doctor was to tell you, hey, if doctors were billed hourly or whatever, and they're like, okay, you're coming to see me to, get Timmy's checkup, here are my rates. You're not gonna be like, well, that's too expensive, because you need to be checked out, and clearly they're professional. But people do that with artists all the time. We have to prove our worth because, people don't think art is worth that much. So if you then take that and put it in a world where literally everyone's art, you can pee on the sidewalk and call it, your masterpiece. That's like, well, dang, I'm over here paying X amount of money for my degree, which showed up late, and, I'm treated the same way. I think there has to be some way to, like, kind of limit these things.
M-I-Z, baby. Come on, say it back.
Z-O-U.
Yeah, we love University of Missouri.
Do we?
Sometimes.
Yeah. A knife. You'll get, if you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know.
What are you running with? But anyway, I just, that's why I have the stance that I do. I find it interesting that Matthew is a traitor as a journalist, who are historically paid the least out of almost every artist type there is. has this kind of stance, because I believe that their work should be valued higher as well for the reasons of training and X, Y, and Z.
I mean, for one, I kind of agree with you, but two, and not that I subscribe to this argument, but an argument could be made that journalism in itself is not art. I don't agree with that, but I'm saying that that's an argument that could be made.
Yeah. Well, we'll save that for another day. We don't want to bore the people any longer.
Yes, I was going to say, Jasmine.
Oh, boy.
We've done about 2 hours.
Wow.
And I always go, and you can agree with, or you can attest to this. I literally went into this saying, like, I try to aim for an hour, but what always ends up happening is conversations
we just be rolling, man.
Exactly. And I usually invite people on the show that I can easily talk to, so.
Yeah, we do talk quite a bit.
Yes. So is there anything else you want to say about Anything Can Be Art?
No,
no. I think you covered, like I said, we can go around in circles forever.
Yeah, be nice to me in the comments. I'm sensitive.
Nobody comments on this.
That dumb graphic designer, how dare you say?
What, Janet from the stretching class? Like,
yeah, they're gonna be like, how dare you dummy! Timmy's macaroni art is art, you hateful girl!
My son is a future.
So yeah, no, I'll table it. Maybe we'll resume this conversation another day.
For the record, me and Jasmine have been going back and forth about this for years.
I'm very passionate.
So there's not much more to say about that. I mean, for time's sake, really. Jasmine, how was it being behind the mic for once?
Honestly, I don't notice much of a difference, just because we call each other fairly regularly, and the conversations can be as long as 5 minutes to 3 hours. So this is no different than us just having a conversation, with the exception of Matthew keeps telling me not to tap on the table and to watch my volume and lean into the mic.
It's something that, listen, it's got to happen for just quality's sake, and B, because it's been a problem that I haven't addressed in the past, and sometimes it's even ruined some episodes.
Oh, no, this was no way of a complaint. That's just the only difference. I just kind of feel like I'm just talking with my Maddie.
And you know what? I'm happy that you say that, because that's something that in the first episode, like my artist statement.
Wow.
My first episode was that. Like, I want this at the end of the day, no matter where this show goes, I want it to be a natural conversation. And that's always what I try to push for. I want it to just be people talking. Now, obviously, I'm a constant in the show, but, it's my show, so, like...
Actually, on that note, and I'm going to force you to not cut this part, but since it's the 10th episode, I just want to say...
I wrote a note about that. I forgot to mention at the top of the hour, or 2 hours, that I didn't say, this is the 10th episode. We've hit double digits, baby!
Yes!
Double digits!
And I've been joking about making a fake ad, but actually, this podcast is sponsored by the 100% effort of the host, Matthew Rios. He will never plug himself, but he spends a lot of time, a lot of energy, resources into making A Hill to Die On what it is, which is great for the two of us that listen regularly. But and as much as we like to complain to him and joke with him, he has really put a lot of effort into this, and it's been really fun for me to watch it grow to be what it is, and even more impressive when you're one of his friends and know the amount of effort that he put behind this. So the Hill to Die On podcast would not be what it is in its 10th episodes without the work of you, Matthew. So thank you for making this podcast what it is on this double digit, baby.
Aw, that was really sweet, Jasmine. I appreciate you saying that.
It must be said.
I try sort of my best, I mean, I can't lie. There is some procrastination involved, but I do try to implement my non-complex but firm image of what I want the show to be. And I like I said, I really appreciate that. That warms my cold heart.
Oh. And if you got beef, don't argue with Maddie, argue with your mama.
Yeah, pull up. I'm about to question mark kick you.
Outside Harpo's.
Yeah, for sure. I'm about to give you the business.
The
hands. I got hands of steel.
I don't know about that, but he do have hands, and we will fight.
All right, what about at least my shins?
Yeah. His kicks are one to be feared of.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's enough compliments out of me.
All right.
Happy 10th episode.
Yes. So, Jazzy T, just to wrap this thing up.
Oh boy.
Would you like to give the people a place to reach you at, where they can hit you up? I don't know. If there's anything you want to plug, go ahead. Plug it.
We already plugged my website, but if you have a creative idea and want an art elitist who believes that some things are art, but not little Timmy's macaroni necklace, I'm the one for you. But yeah, like I mentioned, I freelance because I like making creative ideas into physical things. And you can find me at jasmynetyler.com, JASMYNE. Tyler, TYLER.com. I also have an Instagram if you are interested. I mean, I guess you can follow me on Instagram. It's JRTJAZ, not S like my website, MYNE. And you can follow me on Instagram as well as my design Instagram, Jasmyne Tyler Designs, spelled with an S, not a Z. That's a story for another day.
That is true. That is a story for another day. Jasmine, thank you for joining me here today on our 10th episode. I guess I really don't have anything else to say. Please, good folks at home, follow us, share us with your friends, let your people know about The Hill to Die On goodness. You can find us on social media at The Hill to Die On, and that is all lowercase. My name is Matthew Rios. If you want a dude who's real chill and knows audio work and writing and photography and all the media goodness, you can hit me up.
Yeah, hire the homie.
Hire the homie. I mean, that's really all I gotta say. My name is Matthew. I'm Matthew.
I'm Jasmine.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. We'll hope to see you in the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Shout out to my mom and my cat.
If you want, I can keep